Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is December the 27th, 2020, and we're going to be taking a look at Daniel chapter 6. This is our type and illustration for Revelation 13 for the last day events during the 11th hour. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Daniel 6 verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these three presidents, which Daniel was first, and that the princes might give account unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So King Darius is the president is the ruler here. He has set up 120 princes to rule his kingdom, and then 3 presidents which rule over them. And Daniel was the authority over the 3 princes. He kind of sat in the middle chair. He was the preeminent one amongst the 3. But the president found favor in Daniel, and so he wanted to put him over everyone. It says, because an excellent spirit was found in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So that's a strange word to use, but except that this is an example. This is a prophetic example, so I guess not. Then the presidents and the princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. So the presidents and princes, these are going to be the other priests, and they're going to try, and your friends, and well, that's going to be everyone, because everyone is supposed to be keeping the Sabbath when the Sabbath is made illegal. This is about the 11th hour. This goes with Revelation 13. So they're going to try to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but he's not going to do anything wrong. So they couldn't find any occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful. So they couldn't find any occasion with them nor fault, because they have been made perfect here. So they have now been perfected. Their sins have been washed away. Sister White said in her writing, she said, during the time of trouble, had their sins not been blotted out before the time of trouble, none of them would have made it through. She said they would have dwelled on their one or two sins, and they would have fallen they would have lost faith and fallen because of it. Those times are going to be very trying. And if you've seen the video that I put up about the timeline, not the recent one, the older one, that I put up on the timeline of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, one of the references that I made in creating that timeline was a quote, which was not exact, but the sentiment of it was that during Jacob's time of trouble, she said along the lines of, we often imagine things to be worse than what they are, but during the time of trouble, it's going to be far worse than what we could have imagined. Yeah, she said it's not the case. During the time of trouble, it's going to be far worse. Anyway, so they've been perfected here. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. So he was faithful and he was perfected. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. So they saw he was perfected. They couldn't find anything against him, but they hated him and they didn't want him to be over the kingdom. And so they decided, okay, well, we're going to have to find something on him in order to knock him down a little bit. So they're going to use the law of his God. So basically, they can't find fault in him, so they're going to find fault with God whom he serves. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes and the counselors and the captains, have consulted together to establish a royal statute, and to make a firm decree, that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or any man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Okay, so this is their plot. Now this is a little bit different, if you remember, than Daniel 12. Daniel 12 is 45 days. I haven't reconciled why one is 30 and one is 45, but I'm sure it will reveal itself as we continue our study. So, now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. There is one other thing I want to say about this. Sister White gives Esther as an example of last day events, where they are going to make a law saying on a certain day you can kill all of the people of God. On a certain day you can kill all of the people of God that are not keeping the Sunday Sabbath. So she gives Esther as an example. And it's just a certain day there. I think the decree goes out. We may look at that book. But just in case, you can take a look at it. But the decree goes out, and it states that a year later, it can be, they have 1 year, and in 1 year, they're all to be killed. Anyway, let's continue on. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his window being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled. Let me read this first. He kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Look, with Sister White's saying that that's the last day events, I'm not going to say for certain if it's for the 11th hour or maybe it applies to the 9th hour. Now, the way she wrote it, it applied to the 11th hour. But both here, there's like 30 days given. Let's see. I'm not sure. I would have to look at it to make sure, but you can go and check it out, and we'll see we'll see. But yeah, you might want to check that out for yourself. Okay, let's go back. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, with altereth not. I was watching Doug Batchelor. And he pointed out something that I thought was very interesting. He said, you have the law of the king, which cannot be altered. But the law of God, people do away with it, add to it, take away all of the time. But they would not dare try to alter the law of a king. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. I added this into my list of I added this into my list of prayer as sacrifice. Because I don't know if it belongs there. I'm putting something together. But it says he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before God. I think there might be something to that. So Daniel, of course, he pays no heed to it. He's going to continue to serve God as he normally does. And I think the habit is that you would face toward Jerusalem and then you would pray. and that's when they would pray. So, so he continued to do that. And that is us. We continue to keep the Sabbath. We're just keeping the Sabbath. It doesn't matter. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Okay. So, of course, they have to go and snitch on Daniel. Then answered they and said before the king, no, wait a second. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree which thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. So this is the same thing that happens in Ezra. The king is very distraught once he finds that he has caused harm to this people, and in this case to Daniel. And he set in his heart to deliver Daniel. The going down of the sun is the closing of the probation. Until the close of probation, there was no more time. Then these men assembled to the king and said, there was no more time to be saved for the loss, basically. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king establishes may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God, whom thou serve continuously, he will deliver thee. So he knew the God that Daniel served. But he forgot. He got vain and forgot. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it. I just think there's something to that. A stone was brought upon the mouth of the den. The den is just a pit, by the way, if you look it up. This word den is only used here in Daniel 6. And it's just a pit. So, a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. So he was very sad still. Then the king arose very early in the morning, and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. He's still there and he's still alive. My God has sent his angel and has shut the lions' mouths, and they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. So this word hurt here is the same word hurt that is found in Daniel 3 during our time. When the king Nebuchadnezzar looked in and he said, I see 4, did we throw 3 men into the fire? And he said, well, I see 4 men and they have no hurt. That's the same word there. Then the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. Why was there no hurt found upon him? Because he believed in his God. This goes perfectly with the Revelation 13. I wish I would have done them all together, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do Ezra. I still have to do Daniel 7. I had quite a few to do. That's why I wasn't sure. Continuing on. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them their children and their wives, and the lion had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came to the bottom of the den. Of course, after the time of resurrection, the judgment falls upon the lost. And you know what? I think I have a better insight of the last verse of Revelation 14. I may do a short video to talk about that a little bit more. I have to look up a couple of scriptures. But yes, judgment comes upon the lost. And they, of course, are going to eventually lose their lives and their souls. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble in fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever. And his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even until the end. Truer words could not be spoken. So, he delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lion. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. And the 144,000 prosper and during the time of Yahweh. It matches the last days as we have gone over them so far perfectly, especially the gathering. This goes with 13 and 14 because we've done both of those. So those are the last day events. That's the illustration of the last day events. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Until next time. Bye.